Hey, it's Matt from the future. I just listened to the episode that you just queued up. I know some of you listen with your families. You probably saw that title and you're on the fence about it a little bit. I think this one's mostly going to work because we're mostly talking about a gigantic mistake someone made a long, long time ago. It'll make sense later. Okay, enjoy.
All right, so I'm looking at this play, and basically it's just a random clip on the internet. So it looks like the game is tied. It's a softball game, 7-7. Must be the bottom of an inning or something like that. And bases are loaded. Batter's up. 2 outs, apparently. They hit the ball, and it's like a shot out to the outfield. It's clear they're going to win because the runner on third is going to come in and score, and everybody's celebrating.
Okay. So it's 2 outs in this situation.
Yeah.
Okay.
The runner runs in, tags home, and then everybody just loses their mind because they just won, right? And so they start jumping up and down, screaming.
In baseball, this is called a walk-off.
Yeah.
Because in baseball, you take turns playing offense, and you get 3 outs or failures for each team per inning. So in the last inning, if the visiting team, they bat first, so they already got their 3 outs for people who don't know baseball. Now the home team, who is tied or behind, they have 3 outs to try to tie the game or get ahead. But if they don't need all 3 outs to achieve that, the game ends prematurely. So that's the scenario you're describing here.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like a walk-off home run, but it's a walk-off. They hit it out of the outfield, and the runner on third runs in, tags home. They're like, yeah! And everybody runs to the center.
Let's go!
We won! Yeah, let's go is what everybody says now, right? That's weird to me. Anyway, so there are a few things in life that have as much energy as like a teenage boy screaming, let's go.
Well, yeah.
So anyway, they run to the center, and they're like really excited at the pitcher's mound, and all the team leaves the dugout, and they run out there. Meanwhile, the coach on the opposing team just screams at his team, hey, grab the ball, throw it to first. Because the person that swung and hit the ball got so excited, they just ran out to the pitcher's mound and piled on with all of their team. And calmly,
you can't do that.
They grab the ball and they throw it to first, and they tag first, and then the umpire just nonchalantly raises his hand and goes, out. So the force out was still on, and the person that hit the ball never ran to first base. They just started celebrating.
Oh, no.
And then they ended up losing the game in overtime.
Dear.
It's very satisfying to watch. I'm not going to lie.
Innings. Okay, we got to be conscious of the third chair here. Some people know these baseball rules. For others, it's going to be as baffling as you and me watching cricket. So I'm going to try to be to others real quick what Brady Heron is to me when we talk about cricket. In baseball, it's possible to hit a ball very, very high in the air. And if a ball gets caught in the air, the batter is out. But if there wasn't some rule in place about what happens when a ball gets hit high in the air, the runners on the bases could just try to run as fast as they can and try to get as far as they could while the ball's in the air, and nobody can do anything about it because it's hundreds of feet in the air or whatever. So the rule is you have to wait until a ball is caught when you are running the bases. You have to wait on the base so as not to exploit the height of a ball that is going to be an out. You have to wait for the ball to get caught, touch the base you were already on, then you can try to advance.
Yeah, it's called tagging up.
Tagging up, yep. So nothing that happens in a baseball play actually counts. You can't record a run with 2 outs until the out at first base is settled, or until all the force outs are settled. So a force out would be a ball caught in the air. So if a runner scores while a ball is caught in the air with 2 outs, I mean, it doesn't matter. The run doesn't count, even if the guy crosses the plate before the ball is caught. Or if an out at first base occurs, even if the person on third scores from third, it doesn't matter. You got to settle the force outs first. So in this scenario, the batter forgot to settle the force out, even though they easily could have made it to first and be declared safe and everything would have worked out. It's just, even if that didn't make sense, I mean, I don't even know what to liken it to. It's the most basic error you could possibly make mentally in a sport, right? It's like when you see people just drop the football and start celebrating right before they cross the goal line.
Yeah, that premature celebration thing is interesting. One of my boys' friends, they've been playing chess. A young kid, he's like 10 years old, right? Been playing chess,
All right.
and we've been talking about, hey, Mr. Destin, when are you going to come over and play chess? I'm like, oh, it's going to happen, buddy. And then yesterday, I just surprised him, and I showed up at his house, and I was like, all right, because my son was over there. I was like, it's time to play chess, and his dad was there. He's like, oh, is this happening? I was like, oh, it's happening. And so we sat down joking around, and I'm sitting there thinking, okay, this kid actually plays chess. I don't actually play chess. I'm about to get destroyed. Right?
You know the moves, and that's it.
I mean, I play just a little bit, but like just amongst friends, but I'm not a chess player. And so we started playing, and I made the only opening move I know that can checkmate somebody in 3 moves, just in case they don't know it, and I can pull it on them. So I make that opening move, and he makes the counter move to it. And I'm like, okay, well, that's not going to work. So I just keep playing. And then he says to my son, he said, oh, I see checkmate in 5 moves. He says that to my son. Like he got a little cocky.
What?
And then I did the thing where I was like, okay. So I flipped from my I'm just playing around brain to you are now going to get the full force of Destin Sandlin's strategic thinking brain. Just against you right now.
That's going to make it even more embarrassing when you lose.
Exactly. And so, but it was really fun in my own brain. I'm like, oh, this 10-year-old is now my actual foe. So I like turned it on and I beat him and. But
you did? Okay.
I did beat him, yeah. So I beat him, and then he's like, I just made a mistake there. I was like, it's okay. And I was trying to show him where he made the mistake, and he was unwilling to take the advice. Or like, hey, this is the point that I flipped from this to this. But he didn't want to hear it. And I was like, okay, we'll play again sometime. But the premature celebration is a thing that's a big problem. Why does it feel so good when you see people fail when they do the premature celebration thing?
What a great question. You're right, though. It does feel good, cathartic, karmaic. I don't know quite how I feel. Schadenfreude. I do feel something when people celebrate early and then lose. And I do seek out videos on the internet with my kids that are compilations of premature celebration fails. And I'm showing them to the kids because I want them to learn life lessons. I don't know, pride, I guess. I mean, it feels like there's some age-old agreed-upon lesson amongst all of civilization. We talked about Persia the other day. You go back to Persia, that's like Herodotus is the historian who talks about Persia and Greece and all their wars. It's like one of his main themes is pride and hubris and all of that stuff and how it'll bite you in the butt. And maybe that's it, but I think that's an insufficient explanation. I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. I mean, the thing that makes it interesting is it's a built-in underdog story. Like, this person was going to win, but the person that was supposed to lose ended up winning. And we like underdog stories, so I think that has something to do with it. I don't know why, though. I really do enjoy seeing somebody, go towards the finish line and they start pumping their hands. Yeah! Like looking at the crowd.
Let's go!
And then the person right behind them that just never lost the sight of the prize just goes into the biggest sprint of their life. And they get there 4 milliseconds before the celebratory.
The tortoise wins.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, that's a really good take. Okay, and it helps me understand better too. It feels like you're showing up your opponent, like you had dignity as a competitor until you knew you'd win and you didn't need dignity or respect anymore.
Yes.
And then we see the real you come out. It's like, even though I'm still on the field, I want to show that I've defeated you this badly. And as soon as I clicked into thinking of it that way, suddenly I can think of 100 incidents like that. I think of the Don Beebe Buffalo Bills Super Bowl situation where, I mean, the Cowboys beat the Bills in that Super Bowl, but there was this little receiver from Chadron State in Nebraska. I think that's where he played. And he chased down this dude who had a free and open lane to a touchdown on a turnover. He's a wide receiver, flipped to playing defense because there was a turnover. And he just gets down there and punches the ball free. And it was awesome. But dude was celebrating and showboating. And what's the really famous one is the snowboarding girl, right? The snowboard cross girl in the Olympics. You see this one all the time on the internet.
What happened?
Yeah, it's a snowboard race. The goal is just get down the mountain fast, not do goofy tricks and silly things. And so she decides that she's going to get some air and grab the board and screw around to get some cool poses and photographs to get more than a gold medal. Like, let's also get famous here and do it in style. Or who knows what she was thinking, right? Well, she eats it. And you can't just hop up and get momentum back on a snowboard. And so she gets past and she loses. And you watch that and there's no part of you that's like, oh, that poor girl. All that time and energy and work she put in, all the investment that her parents put in. It's mean and maybe it's unsympathetic to feel that moment of judgment toward her for one moment of errant thought. But you look at it and you're like, you're trying to show up all the other girls who put in all that time and effort and whose parents invested in them and blah, blah, blah. And you wanted to stand out and embarrass them on the field of play. And instead you got embarrassed. And it feels both okay. And it feels like a wonderful cautionary tale to avoid making such mistakes yourself, right?
I have not seen that clip. That sounds fascinating.
It's fascinating. You want me to find it? Do you need to see it?
Did she end up medaling?
No, I don't think she. Maybe she got a bronze. Hang on a second. I'm gonna find it.
All right. So what is this? What is this video? What's her name?
Lindsay Jacobellis. She looks like an absolutely lovely young lady. I mean, pigtails and billion-dollar smile. She looks like a lovely young lady who just got caught up in the moment. She's participated in a bunch of Olympic Games since then, and she has become the oldest American woman to win a medal at the Winter Olympics. So good for her. Awesome redemption stuff. But it's the 2006 Winter Olympics where the incident happened. She grabbed her board in midair, a move known as the method, but crashed, letting Switzerland's Tanja Frieden speed past her. She did not medal in subsequent Olympic Games until 2022, when she finally got a bronze in, what would that be, Beijing.
Did she win?
She did not win. She got a bronze.
Let me see this real quick. 1 second. Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Dude. Oh, God. Right before she falls, the announcer says this is a lack of honor for her.
Oh.
This is a lack of honor for her because she was so far ahead because everybody else had fallen. And then she kind of, oh, golly, dude. That's amazing.
But it kind of is a lack of honor, right? I don't know what I'm supposed to say. In the world, there are things now where it just feels like you're just supposed to say certain things. I don't know what you're supposed to say in this set of circumstances.
Not supposed to say
I don't want to
anything.
gloat over her failure or a brutal lesson that she had to learn 17 or 18 years ago, whatever it is. It's just a very sad thing. And in that moment, I have to agree with the announcer and the sensibilities of 2006 or whenever that happened, that it's not honorable.
No, what's interesting is he said this is a lack of honor before she fell.
Oh, no.
Yeah, she's looking around. She's like, wow, I'm alone. And he goes, this is a lack of honor for Lindsay. I'm going to play it.
Okay, that is the big question. Bronze medal. It looks like we've got gold and silver sewn up. Maya Ricker in the fence is not going to be able to recover in time. Very, very unfortunate for her. This is a lack of honor for Lindsay Jacobellis. The Americans, oh, drama! Jacobellis is down! Oh, look at her! This is incredible! Freedom! Freedom! Unbelievable! Lindsay Jacobellis has thrown a gold medal at the last 100 meters. Oh.
Okay, that is the best announcer I may have. I mean, he goes, "This is a lack of honor for Lindsay." Oh, she's thrown a medal. But dude, that's rough. Oh, that's rough.
Which is still great, but as a viewer, no matter how much you like that kid, you don't want her to get the gold as soon as she starts doing that stuff. You want it to go to somebody who took it seriously and showed respect to others.
Golly, man. That feels like it says more about us than about them. I don't know. Maybe it says a lot about them. I don't know.
Well, okay, and that's what I was talking about a second ago when I was like, I
don't know what to say.
Even know what opinion I'm supposed to have. Because here's the thing. In the right context, ribbing people while you compete, that can be the tone of a sport. It would be so weird for me to go and play basketball with people and be like, gentlemen, time for basketball. Then shall we put on our trousers? Great, splendid. Who shall go first, heads or tails? Excellent. I shall go second then. Your ball. Bounce, bounce, bounce. I shall defend you. Excellent defending, I must say. Oh, and a fine shot. No, you just, I don't know. It's a mean physical game that involves getting right in people's business. It's very assertive. It's off-putting to some people. But basketball, it feels personal. Whoever you are, whatever part of the world you're from, every culture that has adopted basketball as a sport has figured out it's just a very personal sport, and you give each other crap when you play it, and it just is. But it feels weird to talk trash when you're playing tennis. You never touch. You're not on the same side of the net. It's like, why are you running your mouth? I'm not even allowed to hit you. You're clear over there, protected by a net and a line judge. I just think different types of competition lend themselves to different kinds of interpersonal interaction and different sets of expectations of what is and isn't best practices and honorable. And to me, I mean, I snowboard. I've been a snowboarder for a long time. To me, that looks dishonorable in a race, but snowboarding is a little bit more loosey-goosey. And nobody really knew what snowboarding looked like in the Olympics back then. Are we going to screw around and keep it real? Mountain Dew, redheaded Shane. Oh, what was the kid's name? I can't even remember.
Shane
anymore.
White?
He was
that's stuff made here. Sean McCann.
Sean White.
Sean
right?
White. There you go.
Yeah, he's the kid who was on like Fox News or something when he was 17 in the Olympics, and they're like, yeah, well, congratulations. What are you going to do now? I'm going to go have a couple cold ones. You're 17. Mountain Dews, bro.
Mountain Dews, bro. That's a good recovery.
So I don't know. On that one, I've allowed myself to feel super judgy about it until I was having the conversation with you and in front of other people. And now I feel a little bit more self-conscious about my judginess toward that girl. But it did rub me the wrong way. It still rubs me the wrong way. And I'm working out why it does. But somebody dunking on somebody else and then flexing their muscles at them doesn't.
Let me ask you this.
Me.
If it was a large, burly muscle guy, would you feel weird talking about it in front of other people?
or is it the $1 million smile and the adorable blonde pigtails that makes it difficult? Yeah, if it was a dude who looked like me and there was no potential sub-narrative that could be lobbed at me in the weird, toxic world of the internet on such things, yeah, I think I would feel a lot more licensed to be, you look just like me. You have the same non-haircut I have, and you behaved badly. Like I'm allowed to call that guy out a little more.
Oh yeah, it's
maybe
open season right now.
Dang it. Okay, maybe we have it coming. I don't know. But I'm serious, man. I've only ever seen this clip with her helmet on. And I'm like, there's a girl going fast. That moves my heart. Oh, no. Don't be proud, girl. Oh, you had that coming. But now that we pulled up the article together and I see some dad's little girl with the big bright smile and the blonde pigtails, all of a sudden my heart is soft toward her and I can't help it. And so I feel less judgy seeing her smiling face. This episode of No Dumb Questions is brought to you by RAYCON. They make earbuds that I love. And Destin, just forget the last thing I said. You know what I've been given to people for gifts a lot lately, and every single one of them seems to really like it and be happy?
Banana nut bread.
No, it's these little jars of marmalade that you can get from the Black Hills, and they've got this little bow on them and this gold lid, and people absolutely love them. But the other thing I've been giving to people is RAYCONs, and they really like those also.
Have you really? How does that manifest? You gave me a silver coin. You just like, hey, man, I've got something for you. And you just gave me a silver coin. Is it like that? You're just like, hey, guys, I got something for you. Here you go.
Yeah, well, it's more like birthday or an occasion or something like that. It's just one of those things where I ordered a few of these, and I just have them sitting in my office, and it's kind of my go-to for, just a nice little gift. Like, hey, this is something I really enjoy, and I get good use out of, and I know that somebody else will enjoy too. And everybody I've given it to has come back and said that they use it and they like it, and it does slightly reduce my gift-giving creativity load, which can occupy a lot of brain space. So, whatever you're into, but that's a straight-up gift-giving tip.
That's great. I think that's very kind of you and very thoughtful as well. So what's our promo this time?
It goes exactly like this. Go to buyraycon.com/NDQ today to get 15% off your Raycon order. That's buyraycon.com/NDQ to score 15% off. buyraycon.com/NDQ.
Sweet. When I just recently flew to see you, I forgot to put my Raycons in my pocket when I left. Keep them right there on the sink in the bathroom, so I can just throw them in my pocket. Forgot them, and I paid for that the entire journey. It was awful. I paid for you know what I didn't have? I didn't have music. I didn't have my audiobooks. I didn't have a way to muffle out the whine of the airplane engine. And the whole time I was like, man, I messed this up this time. And so I think what I'm going to do is I'll get another pair so I can just have them everywhere. I'll just keep one in the truck so that I can have multiple pairs. Like, I want to be able to go to my desk and be like, oh, man, it's hard to type because of all these Raycons piled up on the desk.
Well, I get there until gift-giving season.
Yeah.
But you could see, we went fly fishing together.
Yep.
The weather was not friendly.
Nope.
But we did it. We got it in. And you could see why I would go out there in that particular wilderness and grab my little Raycon pill out of my middle console, pop those in, turn on awareness mode so I can hear what's going on around me.
Hear the water.
And then just work in and out of those trees. And there you go. And still hear the water while I'm consuming a podcast or an audiobook.
That's awesome, dude. Yeah, it's just that little peek into your life, knowing that's where you do a lot of your work. You're listening and you're basically your research. That's so cool, dude. That's really, really cool. So here's the offer again. One more thing. Let me do it this way. Yeah, so one last thing before I tell you the offer the last time. There's these sound profiles, and the way you change between the sound profiles is you hold the left Raycon, you can just push it for 3 seconds, and you can toggle between all these. You got pure sound, balanced sound, and bass sound. And they're for different listening environments. So if you want to listen to podcasts or audiobooks, you do the pure sound. If you want to do like jazz or classical music or rock, probably the balanced sound. And of course, the bass is for listening to No Dumb Questions.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Obviously.
So last thing here. If you want to try Raycons, we'd be grateful. You can go to buyraycon.com/NDQ today to get 15% off your Raycon order. That's buyraycon.com/NDQ to score 15% off. buyraycon.com/NDQ.
You're going to like the functionality. You're going to like the different listening modes. You're going to love the cost, and you're going to love the comfort. And we love that if you're in the market for something like this for yourself or for a gift, that you'd consider buying Raycon, who's been a great friend to this program.
Okay, before we turn on mics, and this is the reason we decided to turn on mics is because I told you about the softball thing. You had another one that you were telling me about. It was named something weird. What was this?
The incident, it's a baseball incident in 1908, a professional Major League Baseball incident that is very much like the incident you just described in softball that happened recently. And it's a famous incident, so famous that this incident has a name. And the name of the incident is the Merkle boner. Just let that sink in.
I'm actually on Wikipedia right now. It's called Merkle's boner.
Yeah, that's a new way to try to soften it. I've always heard it referred to as the Merkle boner,
Okay.
but now I'm seeing some websites, articles written in the last 4 or 5 years, they're starting to try to update the name to Merkel's boneheaded play, which is not what it's called. It's called the Merkle boner.
Okay. There's a lot to unpack here. So,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, do you want to start with the name or do you want to start with what happened?
Let's start with what happened.
Okay, great. So it's 1908, and it's a regular season game that is being played. Do you have the article right there?
I've got the Wikipedia page up. Looks like September 23rd, 1908.
Oh, so it's a late season game. In baseball, the season wraps up right at the end of September, and then you go into the playoffs. The best teams play to try to get to and win the World Series. So the Cubs, the Chicago Cubs, and the back then New York Giants, now they play in San Francisco, the Cubs and the Giants were in a tight race with each other to try to go and win the National League pennant, one of the two leagues, National League, American League. They're trying to win the entire National League. And this game was very, very important between these two teams. Well, it gets to be the final inning, and the home team needs to score some runs to win the game. And what do you have in the article there? What are you seeing?
It's too much to read this fast. Just keep going.
All right, so it's a notorious base running mistake, according to Wikipedia, by a rookie named Fred Merkle of the New York Giants. And what happened was there was a game-winning hit, a base hit, so the ball gets past the defenders and the batter makes it to first base safely. So the force out at first is resolved. The runner scores and the Giants win. Hooray. But there was a runner on first base named Fred Merkle, and he had to go and just casually touch second base for all of the force outs in the bottom of this inning to be resolved. But in the hubbub of the celebration, he did not do so. And attentively, the Cubs recognized that and got the force out at second base, which eliminates the run scored at the plate. And as a result, the game ended in a tie, and the Cubs won the pennant instead of the Giants winning the pennant. And it is a day which will forever live in infamy and be referred to as the Merkle boner.
Man, I wish there was video of that. That would be so much cooler than, because I love watching video of like mistakes in baseball. It's one of my favorite things.
Yeah, it's a great genre, and obviously it predates the era of video footage, so it's simply an impossibility. But I was digging around on the internet. I was doing some sleuthing, and I discovered that there is an audio recording that has been preserved.
Really?
It's rough, but it gives you a little bit of a sense of what it might have been like to be there. I mean, if you're interested in that kind of thing, I could play it for you now, but only if you're interested.
Yeah, dude, pop it in or play the wax cylinder or whatever it is you got to do. I'd love to hear that.
Sure. Let me just pop that over here. Pop that in. There we go.
I say, dear Barnacles, what a wonderful day for a sporting event.
Who doesn't love the polo grounds in September for a fine game of baseball?
Why are we playing on polo grounds? And why do we have weird Cockney accents even though we live in New York?
Well, obviously we live in an era when diversion and fun is a public matter of behavior on a weekday afternoon is just becoming acceptable socially. And so there aren't many places to play these sports, but gradually I anticipate these cathedrals to entertainment will pick up in popularity around the world. For now, we'll just have to repurpose the ones we have for multiple sports.
That's a great point, Barnacles. One thing that I love is that here in 1908, the world is full of peace. And I foresee that in the near future, sporting events will be the largest gatherings of humans ever assembled. Wouldn't you agree?
I anticipate centuries of peace. We've finally achieved human enlightenment, and with all of the technological advances we bask in today, I can only imagine that due to the spirit of brotherhood that permeates this great world, that we shall only use those inventions for the next 100 years to make each other better.
I say, is that the rookie up to bat here? It's here at the end of the game. I was hoping we could go get a snow cone afterwards, but what's this chap's name? I forget.
Fred Merkle demonstrates a lot of promise.
Okay.
Nerves of steel, infinitely focused. Why, here's the pitch now, and a base hit from Merkle.
Oh.
Well, good for him. That puts runners on the corners. This is getting interesting.
Oh, this could be the end of the game here. Looks like our fine team is going to win.
And this would take us one step closer to that ever so desirable pennant.
I'm sorry, I gotta gather myself. I don't know what to do. Oh, look, it's the hot dog man. Hot dogs are a new thing that I enjoy.
Wieners here.
Would you like a wiener?
We would take wieners here.
I would like a... Thank you, chap. Yep, here you go. Here's your nickel. Yeah, all right. All right, man.
Cheers to baseball in September,
Yeah,
Testicles. Let us knock wieners.
Yeah, here, let's tap them together as if they're... Yep, here you go. Touch. There you go. All right, these are great. Mustard. Mustard is wonderful. All right, so let's get this game over and let's get back home so we can breathe coal dust or whatever it is we do in our houses.
My fair Testicles, I must say, these ballpark wieners are especially delicious today. No doubt made from 100% beef.
Okay, whatever. All right, so we've got shortstop Al Bridwell up to bat. I say, if he hits this next pitch from Feister, then we might be done for the day, my fair Barnacles. This might be it.
A fine hitter. I'm hopeful.
All right, here's the pitch. In the windup, oh, he drilled it! An apparent single into center field. Yes!
And an apparent victory for the home team.
Oh, there's
Let
McCormick.
us charge the field with others.
McCormick's running home. There it is, a Giants 2-1 victory. That is fantastic. I am so excited about this.
I love being a part of the infield mob. This is the gentleman. Huzzah to all of us. Huzzah.
Let's do what is customary in our time, and let's walk across home plate, across the field, and exit out center field. Don't you say?
Absolutely, as though we had scored ourselves.
Let's do this. Okay, what's happening? It looks like Cubs second baseman Johnny Evers is seeing an opportunity for an odd rule to be enforced.
An utter absurdity. This game is over.
He seems to be shouting to center fielder Sully Hoffman. But what's he doing? He's throwing the ball.
Well, fortunately, our first base coach, Joe McGinnity, intercepted that ball and did what he should do, which is hurl it recklessly into the fence.
Yes, exactly. He's retrieved... Evers has apparently retrieved the ball and is marching towards second. He has touched second base.
You can't retrieve a ball once it's been hurled into the stands by a first base coach. This is an outrage.
It appears that umpires Emsley and O'Day are consulting each other.
What is to consult about?
Here we are in the middle of the field with our wieners, and the game is over, gentlemen. The game is over. Is it possible that Fred Merkle has made a mistake?
Hold. I've got the baseball rule books updated for 1908 here in my pocket. I'm searching section 208.1. Oh dear.
It's literally that section, isn't it?
Oh dear.
What? What has happened?
According to the rules, Fred Merkle's failure to touch second base does indeed result in an out even after play seems to have concluded. As much as I hate to admit it, the run shall not be counted, and we shan't be able to claim victory this day.
No!
He's raised his fist.
Hit him with your cane!
He's ruled Merkle out at second. They've undone the result.
This is an incredible boner that has been made.
The worst of boners.
Merkle, from now on, will only be known in history for this boner. Can you imagine? This will be on the front page of the news tomorrow.
That's the hugest boner I can even imagine.
They will be talking about this boner in future forms of media yet imagined. I cannot believe this has happened. This is insane. Hit him, Barnacles. Hit the umpire.
Yeah, that's basically what happened.
It says here that the fans were so hostile to the umpire, O'Day, that the cops had to get involved to protect the umpire. This was a huge deal for the day. It looks like the umpire Evers and O'Day, they were, was it Evers? No, not Evers. Who was that?
Emsley.
Yeah, this like made the papers and everything. It's called Merkle's boner, so there's no question that the umpire made the correct call. So I think per the rules, the umpires made the correct call, and this is just the way it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. If everything happened as it is reported and as the umpires understood it, then yes, they made the correct call. The force at second was not resolved. Rookie Fred Merkle committed a horrible boner by retreating back to celebrate with his team and the fans before touching second base.
Man.
So the game wasn't over until the force at second is resolved.
And
the call was
fans,
correct.
the fans were already on the field. I think it's interesting that the fans could just walk across the field after the game. That's interesting. So why is it called Merkle's boner? So just let's talk about the etymology. That's study of insects. Etymology, which is word studies, right? Etymologist?
Right.
Am I saying that right?
I think so.
What's the deal here? So that word has clearly changed meaning.
Apparently so. I went ahead and took the risk of Googling the word boner, of Googling the phrase boner definition. And here is what I'm getting. Definition number 1, North American English vulgar slang, an erection of the penis. Definition number 2, North American English informal, a stupid mistake. Those are very, very different in terms of their application.
They are.
And I understand how each word only has so much real estate that it can occupy. And if that real estate enters into the realm that boner has entered into, then you pretty much have to vacate the real estate and just give it up to the new occupant. We're just going to let boner be what boner is, and we will just retire to history the former use, which was a stupid mistake. Have you ever heard somebody say boner as though they were talking about just messing something up?
No, I haven't. I don't think I have.
I have once when I was a young man in my first job. Another person who worked there came in and they're like, Matt, I just made a huge boner. I was like, what? Yeah, come here. And what they had done.
I'm doing a really good job of not laughing. I'm proud of myself right now.
They had backed up into their own mailbox and dinged the side mirror on their new vehicle.
Yeah.
That was it. But for this person who was a generation or two before me, age-wise, that term in polite society was clearly still lingering around when he grew up. I was very dignified about it. I'm not kidding. I was. I didn't giggle or crack a smile. I was like, oh, a boner. I have to know what this is. Sure. What happened? Then I was like, oh, that can mean a mistake? And so then I went back to my office, and on the primitive internets that existed back then, I was like, I hope I don't get in trouble, but I want to know. And that was the previous time I Googled the phrase boner definition, and that is when I learned that the Merkle boner was a thing, because that's what came up.
That's interesting, and it brings up all kinds of questions about the evolution of language. I can think of several words that have changed meanings. In fact, in modern society, I believe it's become fashionable to weaponize the definition of words, to change words in order to almost take ground. Like, oh, if I can make this word mean this, I can use it as a way to identify, brand things.
Yeah. An example of that, for the sake of conversation, and I'm very up for talking about issues like this, but that's not what we're doing here. I just want to talk about the evolution of two words, hyphenated words, that were captured by two different sides of a very hot debate that I think demonstrate a tremendous wit for branding on the part of both sides, pro-choice and pro-life.
Yeah.
Notice how neither of them are against anything. They're both positively stated. And again, the whole debate aside, they're both things that are very desirable. Choices and lives are both things that people would theoretically want, but each side would say the other is using Orwellian language and that it's not reflective of what the coined term holds itself out as representing.
Another example I've seen recently, I saw a person on a newscast, and they used the term woke. And I don't want to tell you the person's politics. In fact, they weren't a very political person. But the newscaster did something interesting. They said, what is the definition of the word woke to the person? And I thought to myself, oh, wow, they just almost checkmated this person. Because this person now has to define this word that means certain things to certain groups. It doesn't matter what you say, you could twist their response to that question and make them sound bad somehow.
Right.
I would like to leave that word there because of how much meaning has been attached to that.
And also, let's just note that if somebody is listening to this episode roughly in chronological proximity to when we publish, this little segment right here where you used the word woke is going to be interpreted by them differently than if they're listening to this in 5 years or 10 years.
Oh, that's
because that word is
interesting.
going to evolve like crazy. I guarantee you it will not conjure the same emotions, the same associations, the same political alignments in 5 years or 10 years. Hello, by the way, to those of you who are listening at that point and looking into the future. It's nice to meet you. Glad to have you here. As it will for the people who are listening right now in the third chair, because that word is undergoing all sorts of verbal, definitional, metamorphic forces under all kinds of massive pressures that are reforming that word into different things. From my world, evangelical is a word that I have seen undergo massive strain and pressure. And I spoke a while back with one of the absolute elite rock star geniuses in the whole world of religious taxonomy. Who fits where? What do you call it all? How do you organize this stuff? His name's Mark Knoll. And one of the things he said when I asked him about the word evangelical is that it's just being asked to do too much right now. It can't mean all the things people need it to mean in different sectors at the same time. And so his proposal was sometimes words need to go fallow. They just need to sit for a while.
What was that word you said? Fallow?
Fallow, like the crop rotations where you let a field or you let soil sit for a while to regain its nutrients and its properties that make it fit for growth. Like you can't just beat the heck out of soil and inject it with artificial nutrition all the time. At some point, you just got to let the thing sit for a while. There has to be a period of rest. And he was proposing that it might be good if we could initiate a period of rest for certain words. I mean, he just proposed this for evangelical, but I would propose it for a lot of words. I think there are words that if they mean everything, they don't mean anything anymore. And it might be better to just let them sit for a while and try to be more specific in our language, because more precise language makes us understand each other better and hopefully like each other better.
That's interesting. There's a word that I hear often used in political ads that is being used, and you can hear it in the voice actor voicing the ad, and the word is liberal. They say, he's a liberal.
What a funny insult.
It's a funny use of the word, right? Because you
right
would probably refer to yourself as someone from the liberal West, wouldn't you?
I am definitely a liberal.
Yeah.
I'm not a leftist nor a rightist, but I'm definitely a liberal, meaning Bill of Rights, free mind, free market, freedom of expression, political tolerance for your opponents. Yeah, liberal.
This word was being used in a very aggressive way. It was a label that was being, I almost imagine it being printed out on one of those inkjet label makers and just put on somebody's forehead. Like, oh, that's a liberal. Let's tag them with that word. And we all know that word is bad, right? Right?
Yeah.
It's interesting. I think words change, and the weaponization of words, I'm not a fan of it. I don't like it.
But that's only one of the reasons that words change. Right now, that's, I think, the biggest driving force we're seeing in the changing of words is language is hyper-politicized right now. The people on the far ends of the distribution who are most looking for a fight and who are the least liberal in their views, they are the least tolerant. They want to eradicate the language strongholds of their opponents and expand the language holdings of their side. In doing so, you reduce the ability to have intellectual space to freely talk about ideas for one position and you expand everything under the massive umbrella of your position. And I hate this practice. I don't care if I agree or disagree with the politicians and political pundits behind it or not. It's a horrible practice that destroys language and weaponizes something that is supposed to be a thing we share. We might not agree on a lot of things, but we all agree on what words mean. And it gives us a common starting point. It gives me hope for peace and resolution and understanding with other people. When you pervert and weaponize words to gain an advantage in this dystopian Orwellian manner, you're messing with something that is perhaps the most shared thing we have in a given society, our ability to say a word and have the other person know what it means.
Phobic.
So I'm very troubled by that.
Is another one.
Phobic.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's a suffix. You can just tag that on anything, and you get to label anybody in a thing once you say that.
You were right to call out the right-leaning practice in society of trying to weaponize the word liberal as a jab against people who lean left. And honestly, I don't know that you meant to do it, but phobic, that's a club the left uses. Anything someone disagrees with, they are phobic of. But here's my biggest gripe with the word. That's not what it means. I mean, what's a phobia?
A fear of something.
Right. Fear and hate are different words. They mean different things.
I think that's interesting. And it makes me wonder what words I may use incorrectly. And the definition that I understand the word to have is not the actual definition. There must be words in my vernacular that, like, there has to be.
And brother, that's the same way I think about theology. I know I'm wrong about God. I just don't know where I'm wrong about God. If I knew where I was wrong, I would stop being wrong because I would want to be right and I would change it. And that's just one of the problems when you deal with abstract things is you're trying to hold to things that are true and accurate, that are a good representation of what that word means, what this concept means. But we're fallible. So I know, yes, of course you're using some words wrong. Of course I am. Of course I hold wrong opinions or understandings about how things actually are. It's just tricky when you don't happen to know which ones they are. And then when you do find out where you were wrong, well, hopefully you just change it.
That's interesting. Okay, this is all amazing and fascinating, but I have a thing happening right now. I've got sunlight here in Alabama. It's been partially cloudy, and I've got a high-speed camera set up that I need to go attend to because there's something really cool I want to film in slow motion.
It's really cool. Yeah. You do. You need to attend to it.
I need to do the thing. Thank you for your patience with me. We've been a lot of places here. We started with a softball mistake. I'm so very glad you had that tape of Barnacles and Testicles. Those guys get around, don't they? They were everywhere.
Yeah, they're a blessing. They're a real blessing.
So we got through them in 1908 there. We've, we went to... Snowboarding. Yeah, we went to battles of the battle for language in modern society and how you can weaponize words. That was interesting. And here we are. What do we do with this, Matt?
Well, normally I'm the one that mentally maps out convoluted conversations that go in a lot of different directions. But today, I've got to tip my hat to you, my friend. You were on it. Yeah. I mean, seriously, all of it started out of you being like, check out this video. Oh, no. And me saying, whoa, there's something like that happened in history. And you saying, let's turn on mics. And then we turned on mics and we get into this whole interesting part of our psychology about competition and what is honorable competition and what does it mean when you celebrate prematurely, and are there different motivations for that would be different in their level of desirability or forgivability. I think that's a super interesting discussion that we got solidly halfway through. But then because the name of the incident in the baseball game is the Merkle boner. Okay, full disclosure. You and I talked about this off mics, and we were like, do we even acknowledge the boner thing? Should we just roll with it and let everybody feel weird that we never talked about it? And my argument was, dude, we can't not. It's just evolution of language. It just is what it is, man. It meant something different when they named that incident. And so then, of course, we're going to get into that whole question about how language evolves. And where I love that we got to was the discussion on the forced political weaponization of language that we're seeing culturally right now. What I'd love to talk about another time when the sun isn't right and you don't have a cool thing to go shoot is other reasons that language evolves over time, other forces that work to change what we make of a word that maybe are a little bit more innocuous and more evolutionary in nature as opposed to being so intentional and forced. I think that would be fun as well.
Yeah, I think that would be fascinating. And I think this weaponization of language is not happening only now. I think it's happened throughout history. It'd be very cool to maybe talk to a historian that knows that, weaponization of language that's happened in the past, like maybe comes up with some examples. I think it'd also be interesting to talk about just the evolution of a language, and how that happens. I would love to find an expert that knows something on that, and I think it'd be fun.
Yeah, I agree. And though the impulse has always been there on the parts of powerful people with agendas to control and shape language, such actors in society have only very recently had the kind of tools at their disposal that exist right now.
To do it quickly.
And I think that does make it different as an exercise than previous attempts to manipulate language.
That's a good point. Yeah, I'll buy that. One thing I want to say here, I just don't want to lose sight of the fact that you and I get to have an interesting conversation together as friends, and other people sit in and listen to this with us. I'm just grateful for that. I don't want to appear like I take that for granted. I don't. I think it's just really cool that other people take the time to have these complex thoughts with us, even though we may be doing it in a juvenile way at times. But I'm grateful. Sure. I'm grateful for the third chair for sticking in and hanging out with us.
If the better part of a decade ago, you had told me, what would be fun would be to share just a teeny tiny bit of our friendship that we're committed to as dear friends with other people and just see what happens. Just a little bit of it. I mean, there's stuff that's just for us and our families, but I wouldn't even know what strategy you would employ. And it ended up being this thing. And the kids were pulling up pictures from the cloud or something the other day on their mom's phone. And I saw one of our kids hanging out the first time that we ever got together. And it reminded me that was a long time ago. The world has changed. We've changed. Our families have changed. And friendship it's a pretty cool constant that runs as a through line through a whole lot of things that are very dynamic and even unstable. And yeah, I appreciate that we get to do this, and I appreciate that we get to share it with everybody sitting in the third chair.
I agree. Am I still clear to come up to South Dakota and go fishing with you? Is that on the table?
Yeah. I mean, sooner than later, I hope. The weather's perfect. The water's great.
All right. I'll do it. I'm heading that way.
Brilliant. All right. We'll do some South Dakota episodes. This will be fun. Not like about South Dakota, but sitting here at my place.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Let's do it.
Sounds good. Thanks for going to weird places, buddy.
Yeah. Have a good one. I appreciate it.
Talking about this boner in future forms of media yet imagined. I cannot believe this has happened.
Surely this is a boner that will transcend print and send echoes forward into history, changing the sport and media forever.
They will be talking about this boner for over 100 years.
Our descendants will be reflecting at the magnitude of this boner.
Did you imagine this would be your job when you grew up?
I got lightheaded. I actually just got lightheaded. I gave blood a couple days ago. I just laughed so hard.
I know.
It kind of came in a little bit. I got tunnel. Oh, dude. Thank you to everyone who supports on Patreon.